Hi, it's Stephanie. Welcome back to my channel, and my reading has not been the greatest. I did pretty okay in May. I just did not do very well at keeping up with vlogging or doing any kind of videos. May and June, I was completely swamped. Like, our June calendar, I think we had something going on almost every single day, whether it be doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, parties. The kids were in sports all of June, and it got super hectic, and I literally read one book in June. One. I liked it, and it was only 466 pages, and I only read one book. Like, that's how exhausted I was. And then, not to mention, I got really distracted by Disney Dreamlight Valley. So most of my free time went towards that instead of reading or writing, because we all know that I have a writing channel as well. So this is just going to be like a little quick update on, hi, I'm still here. It's just been really swamped. July has been not as busy and not as hectic, so I feel like I can finally breathe again. So this video, I'm going to just go over the books that I read in May and the one book that I read in June, just to do a little quick wrap up. I've been catching up on my bullet journal. That's been a task and a half. I really fell off of that as well, and it's driving me nuts. I hate when I'm like in a really good habit and then chaos happens and then I lose that habit and I have to try and get back on my bullshit. So this is me trying to get back on my bullshit. I'm gonna have to go back through all of my videos that because I know that I did do a little bit of vlogging in May. I just didn't put it together in a video. Because as I was pulling out the books that I read in May, I remember filming myself while reading this first book. But I don't see it on my YouTube, which means I didn't make the video, which means I gotta figure that out. I'll still post it, even though I'm like 2 months late, but whatever. The first book that I read in May was Neon Gods by Katie Robert, and I remember when I was first starting to read this, I think I got to like chapter 6 or something, and I did like a vlog clip, and I was really liking it. I was getting into the story and everything, and then I was expecting this from that get-go to be like a 4.5, maybe even a 5-star read for me. And then I kept reading, and while I enjoyed the story, it was only a 3-star read for me. I think that's a super unpopular opinion, so I'm sorry. But I got so lost with the fact of what this was trying to be. Was this trying to be a contemporary romance that is based off of Greek mythology, or was this supposed to be a fantasy romance? Because I don't feel like I can categorize it as a fantasy romance, because was there a magic system? I felt like there was no magic at all with these gods. They were gods, but they were like real human beings, and it made no sense to me. And I got very confused. I will say I loved Hades as a character. He was great. Like, he was my favorite part of this book. The world building, I just couldn't get into it. I think because I was so confused, because it was happening in our modern world, just like in this little bubble of a fantasy city within like the United States, because she was talking about how she wanted to escape New Olympia. Is that what it's called? Just Olympus. Okay, the upper city and the lower city of Olympus. She wanted to escape Olympus and go to like Berkeley or something. I don't know if it was Berkeley, but that's what's popping into my head right now, but it was like a college well known in the States. And so I got very confused by that. And then when there was no actual magic happening, I was like, why is this fantasy? Because there's so many people who classify this as fantasy romance, and I just wasn't getting the fantasy element other than it being a Greek retelling and that they were gods, but like you could still kill them and they didn't seem to have any powers. So I got very, very confused. So I gave it 3 stars. I'm sorry for all those who love this book. It just didn't click with me. It's okay. That happens. The second book that I read in May was The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. And this book did not disappoint me at all. Like, I think I gave it 4.5 to 5 stars. I have to go through all of my notes. But I really, really, really enjoyed this one. It was such a cool concept because it was kind of like a fantasy version of the Hunger Games in a sense, because there was this fight to the death type of competition in order to get a wish from the goddess Nyaxia, I think is her name. And you basically had to be the last one who survived. And the love story was between 2 of the characters who were fighting in this battle. And it was so great. So great. I'm super excited to read the second book. I've heard mixed feelings about the second one, but I'm super, super excited. I really, really enjoyed it. It was probably one of my favorites of May. No, probably my favorite of May, now that I'm thinking about it. The third book that I read was The Coven by Harper L. Woods. As soon as it was published back in March, I think, and it like skyrocketed to the top of the charts on Amazon, I immediately put it on my TBR because it just, 1, the cover was gorgeous. Like, the cover drew me in. 2, the description, it sounded really, really cool. And 3, I really wanted some witchy books in my life. And I read it and I liked it. I enjoyed it, but I felt like it was a little too short. I wanted more from it. There was something that I wanted more of. And I notice that when books are under 300 pages, I tend to want more from it. Like, I feel like parts of it are too rushed, or the ending needs to just be a little bit more elongated. And I feel like that was the problem with The Coven. I still gave it, I think, 4 stars because I did really enjoy it. The concept at one point started to remind me kind of like the Netflix version of Sabrina, where the witches are basically bowing down to Satan. It had that kind of feel to it because, like, Satan was the overlord and Satan was the one who gave the witches the power and whatnot. So it had that vibe to it, and I really liked that vibe. I did keep thinking of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, but I did really enjoy it, and I probably will continue on. The second one doesn't even come out until the end of August, and I might just wait until the audiobook comes out. So the next book that I read in May was King of Wrath by Ana Huang, and this book was a billionaire arranged marriage / fake engagement type of scenario, and I really, really enjoyed it. I know there are a lot of people who have a hard time with arranged marriages in a contemporary setting because it's so far-fetched in a modern day world, and like, not many people in the real world nowadays have arranged marriages. But when it comes to wealth and like socialites, I can see it being more of an arranged marriage rather than the majority of us who tend to marry for love. I really, really enjoyed this one. I've only read one other Ana Huang book, and that was Twisted Love. Twisted Love, I believe I read last year. I read Twisted Love last year and I really enjoyed it. I haven't finished the series yet, but I really do need to do that. And then this one was just one that I gravitated towards while looking at Kindle Unlimited books. And I am really happy I stumbled upon it because I feel like it had more of an adult feel. And I think she did it really, really well. The characters were slightly older than, college age or just out of college, and I really, really liked how she worked it. I will be continuing on. I believe there's one more. Oh no, there's a lot more coming. Another reason is probably why I'm gonna like it is because it looks like it is a Seven Deadly Sins type of series. And I'm a sucker for the Seven Deadly Sins as like a theme. So, got lots of reading to do. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed The King of Wrath. And I think if you have liked Ana Huang's previous works, you'll like this as well, especially if you're wanting to have a little bit more of an adult feel to it. The next book that I read in May was Beauty and the Baller by Ilsa Madden Mills. This was a sports romance and kind of a second chance in a way, in the way that the main characters had a one-night stand years ago, but it takes the dumb hero a while to put two and two together that they had a one-night stand. He was going through a lot of issues. He lost his fiance in a car crash, and so he wasn't all there mentally or emotionally when they did have the one-night stand, and she was actually the first person he ended up having sex with after his fiance had died. So his mind kind of like blanked out that entire like time of his life. And she moved back home because her mom died and she was now the legal guardian of her little sister, and she didn't want to uproot her little sister to a different city when she's known this city her entire life and she was in high school and whatnot. So she moved back home to take care of her sister, and her next door neighbor just happens to be ex-NFL quarterback who turned into a coach, and he wanted to coach for like the big leagues, but he needed to start small. So he started out as a high school coach down in Texas, because down in the South, high school football and college football are life. I think they're probably more important than the NFL. So it's kind of a second chance romance in a sense, but it was one that I really enjoyed because I don't usually tend to gravitate towards second chances. The story really has to captivate me, because there's parts of me where like if it does, part of me kind of thinks if it didn't work out the first time, why is it gonna work out a second time type of thing. But this one I didn't feel that way, and I really enjoyed the story. I think I gave it 3.5 to 4 stars. And then the last book that I read in May was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, and I just have to say, Red Tower Books, they know what they are doing with this whole marketing and the fantasy romance type thing. Now, I really enjoyed this one. However, it's not a 5-star read for me. It's probably a 4.5-star read, and that's only because it took me a while in the beginning of the book to get into it. And that's because it felt very YA to me when it's supposed to be new adult, and it just was feeling very YA, and I don't read YA as often anymore, so it was a struggle for me to get past like the first 50 to 100 pages because it just felt like I was reading a YA book. It's not what I read anymore. So when this was feeling really YA, it was really hard for me to get into it. But then it started to pick up and it started to not feel as YA once the slow burn romance started happening. So for that, I did dock it just a little bit because it was so difficult for me to get through the beginning. But I did really like it. So it's between a 4 and a 4.5 star read for me. I do want to reread it before the second book comes out because I feel like I might enjoy it more on a reread. So that might be something I do later on this year when the second one comes out, I think in October or November. So those were the 6 books that I read in May. The one book that I read in June was A Ship of Bones and Teeth by Karina Halley, and I really did enjoy this book. I'm upset that it took me so long to get through. Part of that was I was only reading for about a half hour every day that I did read, and I think I only read about half the days in June. And this didn't have an audiobook, so once I read for like my 20 to 30 minutes, I was starting to get sleepy. And usually if I'm listening to an audiobook while reading, it keeps me up a little bit longer, and sometimes I finish books a lot faster when I'm doing it that way. But with this one, there wasn't an audiobook, at least not at the time. I don't know if there is right now. And so it took me a while to get through it because of that, but I did really enjoy it. And a part of me kind of really likes the fact that I took my time with it because I feel like I got to hang out with the characters a lot longer. So the vibes that I got from this book was The Little Mermaid mixed with Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, that's what it was. It was a Little Mermaid retelling and a Pirates of the Caribbean retelling put together, and I just really, really liked it. I haven't read very many pirate books, but this one was so much fun, and there was also more of a sinister plot for the pirates because there's a secret, which I don't know if it's a spoiler, but they don't come out with it in the summary, so I'm not going to say it here, but he holds a secret as well, and it's just, I really, really liked it, and the romance between them was really great. So even though I only read one book in June, it was one that I really, really liked. That being said, I am trying to decide on if I want to do a TBR video for July, considering it's already 10 days into July, and I've already read 2 books in July, and like, do I want to mess up that mood reading with a TBR? I don't know. So I'm gonna think on it, but I probably won't. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll just do like a little monthly preset type of thing. I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna try and get back on my bullshit on the weekly reading vlogs, or attempt to do more videos. I've really missed it. It's just, I feel like it's so difficult because I have the 2 channels, the one that is strictly for my reading hobby, and the other one is strictly for my writing, hopefully writing career. And it seems like when I'm doing really, really well on the writing aspect, my reading one falls down on the wayside. And then when I'm doing really, really well for my reading one, my writing one kind of falls flat. And I have to figure out how to balance that really well. I don't know. Maybe it's limiting each channel to just 1 video a week. I'm not sure. I need to find a balance for it though, because I feel like I'm always playing tug of war with the 2. That being said, I'm going to close this video out now. Let me know down below what you read in the past few months, what you're currently reading. Any recommendations that you have for me, please leave down below. I am always looking for more books to read, even though I have a shit ton behind me that I have a hard time gravitating towards because I pretty much read mostly Kindle Unlimited. I have issues. That being said, if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. It does help. It's help let me know that you like this kind of content, and it helps with the algorithm, helps let other people's find my video, It helps other people find my video. And if you're not a subscriber and you would like to subscribe, go ahead and smash that subscribe button down below, and I would greatly appreciate and love you forever for it. But until next time, happy reading.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun.